Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Gail Carson, your host for Women in Business, a show that celebrates women and their accomplishments as entrepreneurs or senior managers. As a women business owner for over 5 decades, I take great pride in bringing these interviews to you. My guest today is Jessica Kizorek. For the past 15 years, Jessica has wanted to develop a presence for herself, both domestically and abroad, as an entrepreneur and an international activist specializing in women's financial empowerment. Working primarily with large nonprofits through her company, Two Parrot Productions, which she co-founded with her father, Bill, she has created over 30 short films and video-centric fundraising campaigns. Having traveled to over 60 countries, she has covered many humanitarian causes, and as a journalist and a documentarian. Jessica has lectured at prestigious universities such as Princeton, authored 8 books, and been a featured small business expert on media outlets including CNN and Fox. Welcome, Jessica.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I'm happy that you're here with us. And of course, Jessica's a friend of mine. I've known her for a while, and she is a very, very focused young woman who accomplishes amazing things. So we talked about that you've been trying to, establish yourself for 15 years as an international person and also domestically. But how long really have you been an entrepreneur?
Well, I always joke with people that I'm 33 years old, but I really have 30 years of entrepreneurial experience because my dad was an entrepreneur and he started a video surveillance company when I was just a little baby. It was like out of his fatherly need to provide for his first child and his wife. And he grew that business over the course of 20 years from just himself working in the basement with me, sitting right next to him on his shoulder, to 200 employees. So my whole learning experience as a human being has been to watch my father grow a business. And then I basically started my company right as he was selling his. So we went in on Two Parrot together and we've been working together as a team. So he's been my mentor since we basically been in business since 2000 together.
Well, that's fabulous because I think, people don't realize how much impact their parents have on them. I guess that's why many dentists beget dentists and many lawyers beget lawyers. Mm-hmm. And so you had that wonderful experience along with, learning all the techniques and everything, even though much about production has changed in the last many years.
For sure.
But you also started an organization, I'm going to call it an organization, called Badass Businesswomen. And that had to take some real energy to do that because, first of all, it's a very provoking name, and it's also something that either gets the positive or negative attention of people that you deal with. So tell us a little bit about why you started that.
Well, I didn't really feel like I fit in at anybody else's club. All the networking groups and women's groups. I used to give speeches about online video and they'd all want me to join their group afterwards. But I really didn't feel like I fit in. I felt like it was really conservative and really repressed and sort of energetically heavy, these sort of business development groups. And I was more artistic and wanted to hang out with people that were, mostly younger and ambitious and digital and really going in. And I wanted to hang out and attract that demographic. And I picked the name purposefully because my intention, 100%, this is not an accident that I picked that word. It's English, it's an American slang word that only pretty much under the age of 4. And you've just always been such a big fan. So as I talk about my demographics, you're included in that. But as we talk about niche marketing too, because you're also a businesswoman, you'd appreciate that my audience has always skewed younger because they get that they don't want to be part of the old generation of business and however that looked. They want to start their whole new revolution of creating their own job, not only creating a job for themselves, but then creating jobs for other people. So you become not only a worker, but you become someone who is a real contribution to your community.
Well, it's interesting because there is a big mix in that group that you have. And, it's I was somewhere a couple of weeks ago, and somebody said, you keep referring to yourself as a dinosaur, but you're the youngest dinosaur we know because you're interested in all these things. But I think that's what keeps you young, and that's what keeps you current. Mm-hmm. But you also bring up a very important point, and that is many business organizations, especially women's business organizations, were modeled after men's. Mm-hmm. So that's where the conservatism and the you should dress properly kind of came from. Mm-hmm. And you're willing to be a little bit out there. But you also just came back from a trip to Japan where you were speaking for the U.S. State Department. And certainly the U.S. State Department is rigid and conservative. And there had to be a reason they picked someone like you to do this. Plus, I know that you are very successful on this tour and very well received. So going also into a kind of a society that is more conservative, you brought something unique and different. So tell us a little bit about what you found over there and why you were picked.
I thought it was the funniest thing ever. When I was in the Tokyo embassy, long story short, was there talking to people at the embassy. And at the end of an hour-long meeting that I really didn't think was going anywhere. Like, I thought it was a meet and greet. Politics. I'm not interested in politics. It's two moves too. Not having them as I just never thought this meeting would go anywhere. And then at the end of it, they said, we really respect what you're doing, and we respect that it's a different approach than what we've been doing. And if we're going to really help Japan, as the U.S. government, Japan's our strongest ally in Asia. So it behooves the United States that Japan's economy sort of comes out of this stalemate that it's been in for the last 20 years. So they're really open and receptive to bringing in experts that present a new paradigm of thinking that maybe can get through to the Japanese youth, which are, they're really resigned, to be frank, about the situation over there, because it's the very, highly respectable society, and I have a lot of admiration for them in a lot of different ways. And they have some real strict gender roles where, the woman isn't a lesser person like they are in sort of Muslim cultures, but the woman has a very distinct affirmative role that she plays that's equal to the man, equally as important, but it's in the house. So it's sort of like 1950s United States, which I'm sure you could sort of appreciate how long it took the United States to sort of go from this idea of, Silicon Valley, entrepreneurialism. Look where we are now, where we're such an entrepreneurialistic, culture as Americans. So they're really behind the times. And so they picked me and they said, would you be willing to come over and represent the U.S. government? And I just laughed my head up, I of course said yes right away, but it seemed like the ultimate joke because I always wanted to be sort of a fringe on the side kind of thing. And now I'm being sponsored by the U.S. State Department. And the other funny thing was that through this engagement, I was contracted by Coca-Cola Japan. And here it is. It's like one of the biggest brands in the world. I didn't think they would want to associate with me just based on the word badass and badass businesswomen because it's so inappropriate. But at the same, they were very proud of being a client of mine and bringing me into a training to 90, I think there were 94 executives from people from Coca-Cola Japan and Google and the United Nations for Women were all there for my 2-hour training. Very interesting. Not sort of what I thought how it was going to go, but at the same time, it's perfect.
Why did you go to the embassy in the first place? I mean, did you have a goal in going there?
Well, I was introduced by my client, which is the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, and they are an international organization that teaches entrepreneurship. And of all their regions in the United States, I think there's 13 of them. South Florida is the biggest. And they contracted me last year to do their videos. As such, I became very involved. It's a group that goes into public high schools in low income areas. And this is where kids, like their entrepreneurial role models are drug dealers and thieves. And that's the people who have things, who appear to be successful on the outside. And they go into the schools and they teach these kids starting at age 13 how to make your own job, how to get paid, how to create. So as a result, these kids come out of high school and college, and their levels of employment are way above standard. Their levels of starting businesses that stay in business over the course of several years is way above standards. So I was really proud to be a part of the project, and now to be a major public advocate for them and helping them raise their visibility in South Florida and their region, and connect the dots of a lot of different entrepreneurial efforts that are going on in their own silos. It's really bridging the gap. And we're even talking to the Channel 2 WLRN. No, it's it's a PBS affiliate, local affiliate. And we're talking about doing a tech show, like a 13-episode program where we followed and looked at everything that's going on in Miami, everybody that's in even South Florida, bridging the gap too between Broward and Palm Beach and Miami. There's a big divide in what's going on and what investors are looking for, business opportunities, et cetera, et cetera.
And they just elected you to their board of directors, from what I understand. Is that right?
Well, it's sort of still a secret. So. Oh,
no longer. So what do you want to accomplish in that position?
I was offered the position I have yet to be voted in officially until the next board meeting. And I really want to figure out a way to connect the dots for them of there's a lot of money coming into Miami of investors and art collectors, and there's a lot of money here. And we want to really provide those people with a lot of money ways that they can get involved in dramatically increasing the quality of the Miami community, and I want to help them package ideas and deals and projects, because I'm sort of a graphics ideas creative person. So help them put together some projects, help them raise a lot more money. We're talking about, I want to start bringing in projects that are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars for them and things like that. I think there's people who have money to spend who don't really have great understanding of how to spend it. And I want to sort of facilitate the meeting of those two worlds, Well,
that's very, very interesting. It's but you're a recent person to Miami. You've only been here about 10 years, I think?
Recent. Yeah, except for that's my entire professional career, Dr. Gale.
So what do you love so much about Miami, and where do you see it heading?
Miami, I'm really into the high-tech startup community that's going on here, because the Knight Foundation is really pumping a lot of money, like millions of dollars at a time into different startups, into different communities, into different nonprofits, into different shared spaces, into different contests, into different speaking and events, and they're flying people in and putting on conferences. And there is such a very strong movement to have Miami be this like creative electronics capital of the world. And that's one of the reasons I love NIFTY so much, the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurialism, is because we have to prepare our labor force for all these companies that want to come in and do business in Miami. If we're not preparing the kids in public schools to think like an entrepreneur, think like a manager, think like a business owner, that's the kind of talent we'll need here to satisfy the